Who cares how old I'll be? All right. So this is the two-step inequality story problems worksheet. We're going to define the variable and then write and solve an inequality for each problem. Number one, you need a mean score of at least 90 points to advance to the next round of a trivia game. What scores in the fifth game would allow you to advance? So we need to know what scores. Parker, what letter would you like to use? Oh, wow, that's what I was going to use. And so S represents the score of which game, Parker? Good. The score of game 5. And so Aiden, tell us what mean means. The average. Good. I want my average score. And so Parker, can you tell us again what average means? Adding everything up and dividing by the number of numbers you have, which if there are 5 games, I will have 5 numbers. Yeah, so 4 of the games we already know, 95, 91, 90, or 77, and 89. So why don't we start by adding those together? What was it again, 98? 95 plus 91 plus 77 plus 89. There's 4 games, but there's a 5th game, which we have not played yet. All of that divided by 5 gives us our average. We want our average to be at least 90 points. So if it's at least 90 points, Maddie Cheeseman, does that mean we want to use a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to symbol? Absolutely, yeah, we'd be fine with anything higher than that. We just can't be any lower than 90. All right, Ashlyn, what's the opposite? Oh, sorry, how do I clear the big fat fraction? Times it by denominator, is that what you said? Good, by 5. Ashlyn, what's 90 times 5? 450 is right. Okay, so here's what that means. If we're going to get an average of 90 for all 5 games, we need to get a total of 450. That would give us that average. So a total of 450. Our next obvious step would be to add up all the points we've already scored, which is what I'll do now. If you're okay with it, I'll do these 2 steps together instead of writing all that down and then adding it. We'll just add it right now. Ella, tell me what 95 plus 91 plus 77 plus 89 is. Good, 352. So that's the total number of points we've scored in the first 4 games. Plus there's a 5th game. And we need that to be greater than or equal to 450 if we want our average to be at least 90. So once I know how many points I've scored, how do I finish this problem, Thomas? What number am I trying to get rid of? How do I get rid of it? I don't divide, it's not being multiplied. It's being added to the S, correct? So what would be the opposite of that? Subtracting, yeah. So we'll subtract it away. If you subtract away 352, the points we've already scored, from the points that we need, then Thomas, what does that leave you with? 98 points. Don't forget to label. That's why we used S for score, to remind us that it's a score, so it's going to be in points. I would have also accepted P for points or G for game 5 or whatever letter you want to use, as long as you have it labeled. And so we need to score at least 98 points, greater than or equal to 98 points. Is it possible for us to do that? I don't know. I think so. We've scored 95. We haven't scored 98. So it'd take a lot to get that. That 1 game 3 kind of set us back there. All right, number 2. Find the number of $20 bills you can withdraw from an account, the account, without going below the minimum balance. Your current balance is $320 and your minimum balance is $100. You can't go below $100. That's pretty typical for a checking account. They have a minimum balance you're not allowed to go below, or they dock you. You get some sort of fee for going below the minimum balance. So we don't want to do that. Now, this is an ATM screen. Have you guys seen these before? Have your parents ever gone up to an ATM? I feel like I see less and less of them. All the time, when I was a kid, we would always go up to the ATM like once every few days. My mom and dad would be pulling cash out because you paid almost everything with cash, right? You can actually now you can deposit checks through an ATM. Yeah. Yeah, you can do that with certain banks. Yeah, that's a new feature. That was not something you could do. If you wanted to deposit a check, you had to go into the bank to do that. You had to drive up, park, go inside, write your name on the back of it. They fill out a form, they put it in your bank account. And so think about doing that for like a $10 check. Used to do it. Now you can take a picture of it on your phone and deposit it, right? ATMs used to have, when I was a kid, they had $20 bills and $5 bills. So you could really get any increment of 10 or 5 that you wanted to. So if you wanted to pull $50 out of your account, they gave you 2 20s and 2 5s for the ATM. Okay. Automated telling machine. Okay, or teller machine. So a teller is like a bank teller, the person who sits behind, so it's like automated electronic version. Now they just have $20 bills in them. So you can't pull $50 out. You can pull 40 or 60 out, but you can't pull 50, some increment of 20. We want to know how many $20 bills we can pull out and still have at least our minimum balance in this account. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to define our variable, find the number of bills. So what letter should we use? B. So B is going to represent the number of $20 bills. How much money do we currently have? 320. Okay, so let's start with that. And what's going to happen to our bank account as we start pulling out $20 bills? It's going to decrease. Yeah, it's going to decrease by $20 for every bill that we pull out, every $20 bill. So 20B, so minus 20B, minus $20 for every bill that we pull out, which could be 1, it could be 6, it could be, up to, as long as we have $100 left. Speaking of which, that $100, I'd like to have more than that. I just don't want to have any less than that. So when it says $100 is my minimum, I want to make sure, since this expression represents the money in my account, I want to make sure that it's greater than or equal to 100. Minimum means it can be 100, but just not lower than that. So no less than. All right, Aiden, what do I do to solve this? What's the constant term on the variable side? That's the coefficient of the variable. What's the constant term? 320. Yeah, so we're going to subtract 320. Remember, we've been calling that cousin Eddie term. So we put the opposite number underneath that. That helps us get rid of it. By the way, the opposite number tells us to subtract. So that's gone. Negative 20b is now greater than or equal to. Aiden, what's 100 minus 320? I would use my calculator for this. It's negative 220. That's right. It's got to be negative because you're taking away more than what you have. Yeah. Now, I don't want a negative number of bills. So fortunately, our next step here, which is to divide by negative 20, is going to cancel out the other negative because 2 negatives make a positive. Yeah. What else happens when you divide by negative 20? You have to flip the sign. Yeah, don't forget about that. Anytime you are multiplying or dividing an inequality by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. So B is now going to be less than or equal to 2 negatives make a positive, and Maddie Yen says, what's 220 divided by 20? That's 11. And what did B stand for? Amount of bills, the 20, yeah, so we'll say 11 $20 bills as our label. You can pull out, so if I want to have more than $100 in my account, I got to pull out less than or equal to 11 bills. And I can pull out 8, that's fine. 11's fine as well, but 12 is going to put me below my minimum balance, and I'll get a fee for going below that balance. Trying to avoid that. Number 3, the area of the rectangle is greater than 60. Find the possible values of x. Here's the rectangle. Hannah, how do I find the area of a rectangle again? Okay, what's our length? What's our width? Oh, you had it right. That's the length. Length's the longer side. Okay, so what's the width? 2x minus 3. Yeah, and I'm just going to multiply these together. As she said, length times width gives us the area of the rectangle. So if you don't mind, I'll take this and drag it up here. I don't need to define the variable because, oh, Ella's disappointed. You thought I was going to leave it down there at the bottom of the page? I don't have to define the variable because x is just a part of the side of the rectangle. So it's not like it stands for something. Yeah, so multiply these together, and I want my area to be greater than 60. They couldn't have spelled it out any easier for you. I have to use a greater than sign, not equal to, just says greater than 60. And so there's my inequality. Now, I'm supposed to multiply the 12 and the 2x minus 3 together, which is why the 2x minus 3 is in parentheses. What we do is we take that number in front of the parentheses and do what with it? Okay, what do we call that when we times it to the numbers in parentheses? Distribute. Yeah, we're just going to distribute it. That's right. Okay, so Maddie, what's 12 times 2x? 24x. And what's 12 times negative 3? Good job. Minus 36 is now greater than 60. Ashlyn, what would our next step be here? Good job. Yeah, we want to add because that gets rid of the minus. Good job. And Ashlyn, what's 60 plus 36? 96. Excellent. So we're 24x is greater than 96. And then Rayleigh, how do I get rid of the 24 there? It's squeezed next to the x, which shows that it needs to be divided. That's right. Yeah, it's being multiplied, so we're going to divide. And really, using your calculator, can you tell me what 96 divided by 24 is? Using your calculator.
I forgot it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll use one on your iPad, or we'll go get one. Or use Ashlyn's for right now.
Wait, I don't know what I got here. Oh, I pressed plus. Hold on. 1.
96
You
divided by
4 divided by
96 divided by 24.
4.
4 is correct. And so 4, and I guess we could label it feet because that's what the triangle, that's what the rectangle is in. Okay, can you give that back to Ashlyn?
Yeah.
And then go grab one out of my basket
Okay.
in case we need that for next problems, which we will. All right, any questions on 1 through 3? All right, let's do 4 through 7 on the backside. You might remember this problem for one of the homework questions we had on the Big Ideas homework. I can't remember if it was the 4.4 homework or the chapter 4 review from Friday. I think it's 4.4, so you would have already done it. But did you do it correctly? We'll find out. A scuba diver is at an elevation of negative 38 feet. Now, why is their elevation negative? Below sea level. It's underwater. Good job. So it's underwater, it's negative. The diver starts moving at a rate of negative 12 feet per minute. That's not very fast. 12 feet is just a little bit taller than that ceiling. And it takes them a minute to move that far. Now, why would they be moving so slow? Do I have any scuba divers in here? How about, do I have any swimmers in here? No swimmers? You do? Okay, like swim for school.
I don't swim, but I think I knew.
How many have swam before? How about that? How many have jumped off a diving board before? Okay. Can you remember when you jump off the diving board and you go underwater? You feel that pressure, don't you? Yeah. And so that's a quick change. And so that quick change in your elevation, that water pressure really can hurt. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. And that's just at 12 feet. He's already at negative 38. And so you really have to go slow to give your body a chance to adjust to that change in pressure, because as you know, just jumping into the water like that, you feel it. And you're like, man, get me to the top. Okay, because you just feel it, feel like someone's squeezing your head. Anyways, They're going down 12 feet per minute. Not very fast, but we want to be safe when we're doing this. Find the number of minutes. Find the number of minutes. So let's use M for minutes. M is number of minutes. They make it easy when they say find the, and then minutes are right after that. Find the number of minutes it will take the diver to reach an elevation deeper than, we'll have to talk about what that means because there is no deeper than symbol, deeper than negative 200 feet. So just like with the ATM question, where are we currently at?
30.
Negative 38. Let's start there. Just like with our dollar amount, we started with like $320. We're going to start with where we're at. Where are we going? Are we rising or sinking? Sinking. That sounds bad. We're diving down, right? So we're going to go down. Our elevation is going to get smaller, and it's going down 12 feet, not once, but every minute we go down another 12 feet, another 12 feet, another 12 feet. This happens until we don't know how many minutes it'll take, but it happens until we reach an elevation deeper than negative 200. Now the question is what sign do I use for deeper? Is an elevation of negative 190 deeper than negative 200? No. Is an elevation of negative 210 deeper than negative 200? Yes. So think about that. If I'm going deeper, that means my elevation is getting lower, more negative. What symbol should I use if it's getting lower? What do you think, Thomas? For lower? Remember, a greater elevation means I'm higher up. I want to get deeper than negative 200. I want to get less than, right? Now, I know why you're saying that, because negative 210 is deeper, but it's more negative, which actually makes it smaller. Remember, the more negative you get smaller on the number line. And so we want to use a less than sign because that represents us getting smaller, our elevation getting lower than negative 200. Okay. I believe this problem from the 4.4 was one of those where you had to choose, stop doing that, choose which of the equations, which of the inequalities work. So you didn't have to write it. So this is why the inequality has to be written this way. Let's go ahead and solve it. Ella, what's our cousin Eddie term? And what's the opposite of that? Plus 38. Ella, you can use your calculator for that. But before you type it in, am I going to go to war or join forces? And who wins the war? So if you know you're going to war, just do subtraction and tell me what 200 minus 38 is and make it negative. That's perfect. So if they're already starting at negative 38, they only have to go down 162 more feet, and they're going down at 12 feet per minute. So now I have to get rid of, I already got rid of the cousin Eddie term. Now I got to get rid of the coefficient term. Parker, how do I get rid of the coefficient term? Divide by 12? Negative 12. Parker, what else happens when you divide by negative? Yes. So if I want to go deeper than negative 200, that means the number of minutes it's going to be longer, greater than. Two negatives make a positive. Okay. I got a 13.5 here. What'd you get? Haven't done it yet? Well, don't have to worry about typing the negatives in because you know two negatives make a positive. What'd you get, Ella? 13.5? Okay, I just want to make sure because we haven't gotten any decimal answers. Doesn't mean we can't get a decimal answer. That just means 13 and a half, what? 13 and a half minutes. Yeah, which is a long time, but we're also diving down very deep and we want to make sure our body doesn't explode or feel like it's going to explode. Number 5, find the values of R in which the area of the shaded region will be greater than or equal to 12 square units. So to find the area of the shaded region, I could add those two areas, those two triangles together. Unfortunately, I don't know the base of either one of those triangles. I just know the height's 3. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to think of this as one full-size rectangle and just subtract out the dead space that I don't want, the white triangle. If it was a full-size rectangle, what's the length and what's the width of this rectangle? 3 and R. So 3 times R is just 3R. I'll put it over here so Ella doesn't have to raise. So there's the full area. Now I'm going to take out the dead space. So 3 times r is length times width. Now we're going to take out the dead space, which is this white rectangle. And the area formula for a rectangle is 1/2 base times height. What's the base of the white rectangle? Sorry, what's the base of the white triangle? R. What's the height of the triangle? 3. So it has the same base and the same height as the rectangle, except it's a triangle, so it has to have a half in there. So I'm going to subtract out 1/2 of 3r. What's half of 3? What's half of 3? 1.5. So why don't we just call this 1.5r? So now I've got 3r minus 1.5r. And what's 3r minus 1.5r? What's 3 minus 1.5? 1.5, yeah. So what that means is the shaded space is actually the same as the non-shaded space. Half the triangle, half the rectangle is shaded, and half of the rectangle is not shaded. And I want that to be greater than or equal to 12. So I just put a greater than or equal to sign, 12, and I solve. Aiden, what's the opposite of timesing r by 1.5? Okay, so tell me what 12 divided by 1.5 is. That's right. So r is going to be greater than or equal to 8. No label on this one. Number 6. You have a gift card worth $90. You want to buy several movies that cost $12 each. Find the number of movies. Find the number of movies. M equals number of movies. Find the number of movies you can buy and still have at least $30 on your gift card. So as we've done for almost every problem right now, how much money is currently, what are we starting with on our gift card? 90. What's going to happen as we start purchasing movies? It's going to decrease our amount in our gift card and decrease by $12 for each movie. So $90 on our gift card minus 12 for each movie that we buy. That expression represents what money is going to be left on our gift card. And I want the money left on our gift card to be at least $30. What symbol do I want to use? Greater than or equal to. If it says at least $30, I'm okay with having more than that, but I don't want that to be any smaller than 30. So greater than or equal to 30. What's our cousin Eddie term? The 90. Okay, minus 90. Maddie Cheeseman was 30 minus 90. Good. And I don't like the negative there on a story problem. However, my other number is also negative. So when I divide by a negative, it will go to positive. Thomas, what else happens when you divide by a negative? Yes. So I'm going to flip the sign. If I want to have more than $30, that means I got to buy less than or equal to how many movies? 2 negatives make a positive. Thomas, what's 60 divided by 12? 5 movies. Nice job. If I want to have $30 left on my gift card, I got to buy no more than 5 movies. So 5 is okay. It leaves me with $30. 4 is even better. 3 is cool, but I can't buy 6. Number 7, an elephant needs to drink at least 40 gallons of water each day. That's a lot of water. Is a lot of water. A drinking tank contains 4 gallons of water. The elephant has already consumed 24 gallons of water. Find how many more tanks? How many more tanks of water? So T is the number of tanks. Water tanks, just tanks, not actual driving, shooting missiles tanks. Okay. So as we've done, where are we currently at right now? Not 40, that's what we need to be. 40 is where we need to be. We're at 24. The elephants drank 24 currently, so we can start with 24. Are we going to add or subtract to that water amount? Add. It's going to go up, right? They're going to drink more water. They're going to drink, well, 4 gallons in every single tank they drink, right? So 4T, 4 gallons per tank, until they get to at least 40. Is it okay if they drink more than 40? Yeah. Is it okay if they drink less than 40? not safe. So I want that to be greater than or equal to 40. Oh, well, that's easy. There's not any negatives in this one. Ashlyn, what's our cousin Eddie term? Okay, so what happens when you subtract 24 away from 40? I do get a number. (24 minus or 40 minus 24). Try it again. Now, as she's doing that, what we're finding is how many more gallons the elephant needs to drink in order to get to that 40. She already started at 24.
I divided it out.
Yeah, I thought you might have. Positive 16. There you go. Okay. And that means if we're going to have 4 gallons in every tank, Hannah, how many tanks do we need then? You need 16 more gallons of water. Every tank has 4. Yeah, 4 more tanks. T is going to be greater than or equal to 4. And then don't forget to label tanks. Keep those worksheets out. I'm going to come around and check off you've completed it before you leave.